Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tip In Maple Leafs podcast, episode number 222. Coming up on this one, what a Stanley Cup final that was. The Florida Cougars pulled it out in Game 7 for their first championship in franchise history. Nothing but heartache for the Edmonton Oilers. All this and more coming up on 222 of the Tip In podcast.
Hawk Tui, spit on that thing and shine that baby up. The Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. We feel your pain. Edmonton, let's hit the intro.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tip In Maple Leafs podcast. I'm Chad.
I'm Dale.
So here we are. The Stanley Cup final is over. The Florida Cougars have won. Got to give a little of that hot to spit on that thing.
Did you get the reference? You got it, right?
If I got the reference, it's all over everywhere.
Yeah, spit on that thing.
I mean, if you have brains like us, that is right up our algorithm.
Oh, of course.
Right up our algorithm.
And I think the first thing we should talk about here, not going to go long, it's over. We're going to do this episode basically on the Oilers, the Panthers, aka Cougars, winning the cup, few things to get to. And then we'll be back before July 1st, maybe Saturday with regular scheduled programming. Back to nothing but Leafs content, and that's it. But Chad, how can we not start this podcast off by my favorite lady in Edmonton? We're talking about Kate, who decides to do the Playboy thing after all. Now, did you see these pictures?
I did, yeah.
Very disappointing. Very disappointing. She showed more at the game than she did in these pictures.
Yeah, I know. They're like,
what's that about?
They're classy.
Like, what is that? Like, what is going on there?
I don't know. They probably gave her a number, right? They're like, well, for these, we'll pay you this much. For these, we'll pay you this much. And she took the middle one.
Yeah, I guess
she took the lowest package.
Did you see that she was hanging with the Spit and Chicklets boys there at game 6?
I saw that.
She's getting a little close with Biz there, feeding him popcorn right in his mouth.
Yeah. Biz looked like he had maybe gone skiing in some of that Miami snow.
Yeah.
So
well, fuck, I wouldn't put it past that guy. But anyway,
Christ.
so here's
amped up. Speaking of Spit and Chicklets, RA on that show, just on the Oilers bandwagon, the whole series, like he's in the owner's box. He's flashing the Oilers stuff everywhere. He's in Panther fans' face. He goes on the ice after.
Yeah.
Like, and he's friends with the Kachucks. And they're just like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Why would he go on the ice?
Yeah, dumb move. But yeah, Biz, it does not take much to get those cats fired up, especially Biz. Like, man, holy hell.
I know.
Absolutely love those guys. But anyway, they had our buddy Kate up in the booth there as a guest on Game 6 after she did the Playboy thing. So good for her for cashing in, I would say. Strike while it's hot, because we're not going to probably hear from Kate again, right? So...
No, you got to capitalize on something like that. You become famous for 15 minutes, make a little money off.
Good for her, man. Do it. Like, why not, right?
Absolutely.
But I think that the missing ingredient here potentially could be, why the fuck didn't she just use some of that Playboy cash and get on a flight to Sunrise and be in the building on Monday night? Like, you kind of... Good record when she's in the barn, right? So, like, what are you doing, Kate? You got to get there. Get there. If I was McDavid,
someone should have paid to bring her down. There.
Private jet for sure. But anyway, I'm joking around, but it was awesome. Like the Kate thing, and kind of
you kind of nod,
half joking. No, I would have. If I was on the team, I would have said, someone get this girl a bird, because she's coming on Monday night.
Absolutely,
100%. But anyway, hell, man, you take it for a bit. Where do you want to go first? Just your overall thoughts. Like, absolutely crazy series. I've got some points and stuff, but you go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, the series was, I had predicted at the start that this thing was going to go 6 or 7 games. You thought Florida was just going to end it really quick. It kind of went.
It looked that way.
It kind of went both ways. We were both right for a bit, and we were both wrong for a bit.
Yeah.
But the way it happened is what kind of blew my mind. Like the going up 3-0, the coming back and tying it. But the biggest thing was that I felt like Florida all playoffs was playing this defensive, getting the heads of the superstars, shut them down. They didn't do that until game 7 against Edmonton.
I know.
Like scoring 8 goals. What did they scored 8, 5, and 5 in 3 games, the Oilers?
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's crazy.
Bobrovsky fell apart there for
the team in front of him fell apart.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think happened there. You're up 3-0. You can taste it. It's right there. You basically have your hands on it.
Yeah, I can see that for game 4. But game 5,
and then it just started slipping.
It started slipping. But I felt like game 1, Edmonton was the better team. 2 and 3 was kind of a coin toss. But I never felt like Florida played a Panthers game until game 7.
Dude, like you just said right there, without, I'll add to like the game 1 thing. Without Bobrovsky in game 1, we're probably talking about the Oilers being Cup champions right now.
Yeah.
So maybe not. I mean, that would have changed the whole dynamic of the series if the Oilers got game 1 and the Panthers wouldn't have been up 3. It's in retrospect, it's easy to say, but yeah, I mean, you'd think somewhere along the way in those first 3 games, if the Oilers just could have found a way to grab one of them, Panthers probably don't get it, and it's probably Edmonton's.
Yeah, I think there's such a different mentality though on when you have games in hand, like when you can lose and you're still alive versus when you're done. Like you say, Florida went into game 4 and like, all right, the pressure's on, we want to win or whatever. But in the back of your mind, you're like, well, if we lose, we go back home, we can win it at home. But Edmonton was like, this is it. This is our season. This is our season. And they didn't have that feeling on their shoulders like, holy shit, we can win the Stanley Cup until game 7. And by that time, Florida had already done it 3 times.
100%,
so they were ready.
Man. So I'm going to fire some. We'll get back into it. Here. Like we won't be super long here on the Oilers, but this season. So I came across some stats online and just how it started, how it ended, and whatever. So like you probably already saw this, but I'm just going to read it out anyway. So the Oilers this season started with a 5-12-1 record, bottom 3 record on November 22nd of 2023. And then here, fire the coach. Here we go. Longest win streak by a Canadian team in NHL history. They won round 1 in 5 games against the Kings. They beat the first seed in the Pacific, the Canucks, in round 2. They beat the first seed in the West and the President's Trophy winner, Dallas Stars, in the Western Conference Final. They went down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals to the Panthers, fought all the way back to push game 7, 1 win away from the Cup, and they lose 2-1 in the Stanley Cup Final in game 7. Talk about a whirlwind of a season or what? Those are some crazy stats there, right?
It is some great stats. I will correct you on one thing because people will start commenting on YouTube. The Rangers won the President's Trophy.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
Not
You're
the Dallas Stars.
So, but still, the top seed in the what did I say? Pacific, top seed in the West, and I think the craziest stat is where they were on November 22nd. Like to only have 5 regulation wins at that time, and to basically tear it up from then, like make the coaching change and go on a tear right to the Stanley Cup Final is pretty impressive. Look at the percentage of hockey they had to play the rest.
They were the best
of the
team
way.
in the league. They were the best team in the league.
Crazy, man. Crazy stuff.
And not just to get to the playoffs, but right to within 1 goal of the Stanley Cup, game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Like they took that from November 23rd right until June 24th.
Crazy.
Whatever fucking day it ended.
Yep, June 24th. That's exactly
there
right.
You go.
The latest Stanley Cup ever. You might as well just push it to July 1st. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Don't even have an off season.
There's no off
season.
Start
training camp after the draft, and then we'll get going.
I am kind of looking forward to Monday, and like then just like 2 months of like there's been so much hockey this season, man. Like I'd like to get the old mind a little break from the ice. But anyway, Connor McDavid wins the Conn Smythe in a losing effort. 45 points in 2 months for Connor McDavid. What did they end up playing? I want to say 25 games. That might be wrong. I don't know. I should have had the stat in front of me, but not a stats guy, Chad, as you are aware. But I think it was 45 points in 25 games, which is like crazy, except if you're Connor McDavid, not crazy. So just incredible, man.
It was 25 games.
Incredible stuff. Wins the Conn Smythe in a losing effort. Obviously, he doesn't go out on the ice and get it. I don't think I would have either. It's just like, what are you doing there, right? I know he was taking a little heat from that. Some of the fans were booing that he even won. Are you fucking serious? Like, I'm sorry. Bobrovsky was good. Barkov was good at times. McDavid, I guess you could say the same thing. Like game 6, game 7, McDavid, not the best. No points in game 7, not the best.
Yeah, but they're not even there without McDavid.
In your opinion, who was the best player in the Stanley Cup final?
It was McDavid.
100%. 100%.
They shut him down in game 6 and 7. I thought in game 7, that was just, everyone was kind of like, oh, he didn't bring it. You got to bring it for whatever. I thought Florida did just a fantastic defensive job at shutting him down.
They turned back into the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They didn't play that way for the first 5.5 games, and then they turned it on and they won game 7. But it just from game 1 on, he was a beast. Draisaitl was a beast until he got hurt.
Yeah, like even being down 0-3, it was like they were still playing good.
Yeah, they could have won game 1. Yeah, McDavid was on another planet. The way he was putting up points, the way he was carrying the team, the amount of minutes he was playing night in, night out. So the fact that he won the Conn Smythe, I have no problem with it. I have no problem with him not coming out either. Why do you want to come out on Florida's ice when they're walking around with the Stanley Cup just to have your picture taken with the trophy and then go back to the dressing room? Like, do the picture anytime. Why does it have to be right then after the game?
No, for sure, man. And we don't have to get into like the text messages that were exchanged between you and I that night, but we were on different sides of the fence going into game 7, but you were basically like, Dale, I don't think McDavid's going to be denied here. And I can see that take, but I had a slightly different one. We can leave it at that. But I will say this. I just thought
game 6 was the first time in forever that he was held not only without a point, without a shot. And I was like, okay, you can do that once. You can't do that twice. And let's be fair here. He was inches away from tying that game.
100%.
And if he ties that game, I think they win in overtime.
Yeah, it's like I'll say this. The same bet that I placed for game 6,
you placed for game 7.
I lost. I doubled down. I made the exact same bet in game 7 and hit it. But anyway, our boy, Zach Hyman, incredible playoffs by him. Goal scoring wise, he scored 16 goals, most goals in a single postseason since 1996. Ovechkin 15 in 2018. Ovechkin scored 15 in 2009. Crosby scored 15 this year. Hyman 16 all time since 1996. Joe Sakic 18 goals. That's pretty. Listen to those 4 players.
Well,
okay? Joe Sakic, Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, Zach Hyman. Talk about I mean, we've blown a lot of smoke over the years.
Well, we've said it a million times on this podcast. He's the one that got away. Like, he's the one that's the player at that contract that you just shake your head. You're like, how could you not make room for a $5.5 million Zach Hyman? And I know hindsight's 2020, and looking back at it, people are going to be like,
dude,
well, at the time, this and this and this, but it doesn't
Chad,
matter.
He was a heart and soul guy. You find the money, find it.
You find it. And he was just getting better every year that he was here. He was getting better and better and better. And the fact that you held on to such fucking plugs because you're like, well, we don't want to, you can't get rid of Kerfoot or Justin Hall or any of these plugs. There's no money, Zach. You got to go to Edmonton. It's just fucking stupid. Management was stupid at that time.
So still impressive. So shout out there. Going to move on. Keep it rolling to Corey Perry.
Thought you were gonna say Cody Cece.
No, not even gonna. Those are not. That's not a dude's name that would even come out of my
No?
mouth. Nope. No. Why you think? See what? He had
Well,
an assist, so
I thought if they won, I was gonna name the title of the podcast Stanley Cup champion Cody Cece.
hey, and well, okay, there you go. Yeah, another form of relief there. But listen, Corey Perry.
Yeah.
The way his season, the way his season started, to the way like this guy, like why don't you just stop playing? Like, why keep going, man? Nothing but heartbreak for this guy. In the last 5 years, he didn't. Last year between Vegas and Florida, he was not in that series. But this year and the 3 years previous, so 4 of the last 5 Stanley Cup finals, lost. Played in Dallas, they lost to Tampa Bay. Played in Montreal, they lost to Tampa Bay. Then he went to Tampa Bay thinking, okay, we'll get a third one here. Went to Tampa Bay, then the Lightning lose to Colorado. This year, Edmonton loses to Florida. And on top of that,
lost to the Leafs.
3, yeah, well, in the first round, yeah. 3 last year. 3 of the last 5 Stanley Cups now, state of Florida. Tampa Bay, Colorado, Vegas, now Florida. It's pretty wild, man. And the only one, so that's 5 straight Cup finals.
Yeah.
That either Tampa Bay or the Florida Panthers have been in. 5 straight. That's crazy. 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah, 23, 24, 5 straight. Florida the last 2, Tampa the 3 before that. That's pretty. The Atlantic Division, like we'll get more into that when we do the next podcast.
Beautiful weather and no state tax.
Nothing but cups down there now. Nothing but fucking cups. Would you be surprised? Like we'll see, July 1st right around the corner. Obviously there might be some moves with Tampa, but I expect I want to say the core, but like Montour might be gone. Reinhart might be gone, but maybe not. Bobrovsky will be back. A lot of those guys will still be there. Kachuk, Barkov.
Florida can tinker around and replace some of those guys. And
betcha.
They can still go on another run.
Oh, dude, Florida's nowhere near done. Competing for the Stanley Cup in my eyes.
Tampa may be coming to the end of the road. I mean, they'll still be competitive, but I don't think they're going to be the guys who went to the Cup final 3 times in a row. I don't think that Tampa Bay team's around, but we'll see. The Atlantic is going to get tougher and tougher.
You want to move to the Cougs?
Yeah, let's go to the Cougs.
First thing I got to say on the Cougs, man, is last thing on the Oilers. Okay. In no part were we ever making fun of the Oilers. If anything, I'm jealous of the Edmonton Oilers because their fans got to experience something that we've never got to experience in our lifetime. Deep run into the spring, into the early part of the summer. Like losing in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, heartbreak. But the way they fought back and the fucking balls they showed to just
they did it.
Yeah, man. Like
that was honest to God. If that was the Leafs.
Something to be proud of.
If that was the Leafs, they would. I'm no word of a lie. They would give them a parade.
100%.
They would give them a parade for losing in Game 7.
Like you're right there, 1 game away, 1 goal away. So I just want to say, we don't usually shit on the Oilers. I hate the Sens, Habs, whatever. But the out west teams, we usually don't shit on those teams usually because they're usually good teams, and especially Edmonton. But Edmonton really showed me something here that I didn't think they had, Chad. I really didn't. I didn't think they had and I know they didn't win, but they still showed me something here that I didn't think they had. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
That's absolutely fair. And I know exactly what you're talking about too. Yeah. I didn't think they had it either. I always kind of looked at them as the Toronto Maple Leafs of the West.
100% thought the same thing.
Lots of skill. Okay defense, but too many offensive defensemen, not enough stay-at-home muckers and grinders, and shaky goaltending, like a goaltender you don't know what you're going to get. I thought they were the Toronto Maple Leafs of the West, but what I saw one team in the first round couldn't play because of headaches and leg soreness and things like that, and I saw another team that grew a huge set of fucking balls, were playing banged up night after night, all the way to Game 7 Stanley Cup final, and I did not think the Edmonton Oilers were that team. And they were. I didn't think Draisaitl was that guy. I didn't think McDavid was. I didn't think Bouchard was. I didn't think Skinner was that type of goalie. They showed us wrong, man.
Absolutely.
So and I could never picture our boys in blue and white doing that.
Oh, doing what they just did.
Yeah, I could never picture them taking that much physical abuse and playing through that much adversity and like toughness. I just can't see. Like I can't see Austin Matthews in Game 7 Stanley Cup final completely depleted playing.
No, there's no way.
Think they have it.
And I want to get when we do the next talk or the next podcast, I want to get more into that element of.
I was just saying comparing.
Yeah, no, but
that's how I looked at Edmonton. They're the Maple Leafs of the West.
I really want to get into that, but on the next podcast when we talk about the Leafs for sure, about how like they are not there, like they're not. They would have folded down 3-0 in the final. I can't see them having the fight back that Edmonton had. But anyway,
I'm not a huge Oilers fan.
No,
I got nothing against the Oilers, but honestly, I wasn't really rooting for them. I was just kind of like, it'd be nice if they won. But in that series, they drew me in.
Same.
Rooting for them. Like I was like, they have to win. Like when they got to that Game 7, I'm like, you have to win this.
Although I didn't think they were going to win,
but they drew you in and they made you believe.
Oh, they showed me something like we were saying, like they went up in my books significantly as like, I'm not going to count them out of the playoffs. Like, I mean, they could play Vegas in the first round next year and lose. It's not in like, could happen.
Anybody can beat anybody.
Anybody can beat anybody. But like what, now that they've shown me like, well, fuck, you want to talk about like, we're close. Well, the Leafs are nowhere fucking close. And here's a team that is now right there. So we'll see. The last thing I'll say on the Oilers before we give a little love to the Cougs and some of those guys. I will say this. Connor, there's been a lot of speculation, a lot of talk. It's all hearsay. No one fucking knows. You got to play the games, long career, whatever, hurting reputations and different things like this. Look, I know you got to win, and it's all about fucking winning. Connor McDavid, in my opinion, agree or not, Chad, without a doubt, there's no doubt in my mind, Connor McDavid will hoist the Stanley Cup at some point in his career, yes or no?
Oh, yeah.
100%. Like, is there any doubt? Is there any doubt?
No, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Barring a career-ending injury, that's the only way that I see it not happening.
He strikes me as the type of guy that, like, this moment will live with him forever. God. A lot of guys, they get there and that heartache lives with them, but he's the type of guy where I think he'll wake up in the morning every day and be like, never again. Like, I will never feel that again. If I get back there, I'm winning.
I was saying to my brother after the game, I'm like, if I just played in that game as an Oiler and lost, like, and I cared as much about winning as it looks like McDavid and Draisaitl and a lot of these Hyman, we know a lot of these guys do, that would haunt me for the rest of my life. The rest of my life, I would look, especially if I never got back there, which I'm not saying here. I think McDavid will win, but that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I'd be like, oh my God, what just happened? Like, how did we not
just the fact that you lost in the Stanley Cup final, but if you win that Game 7 after being down 3-0, not only do you win the Stanley Cup, but you go down as like one of the greatest stories in history. And McDavid probably goes down as like, they will talk about the time McDavid brought the Oilers from 0-3 all the way back to win it. But instead now, you're just the guys who lost the series.
Guys who lost.
Yeah, like honestly, 2-3 years from now, we're going to be like, oh yeah, the Oilers, they lost to the Panthers. Like, we'll never talk about them erasing the 3-0 deficit.
No.
Anyway.
So
Cougars.
Yeah, first and foremost for me on the Cougars is Paul Maurice. Yeah. Loves just the guy's so poetic. Like, everything he says is thoughtful, and like he's saying, if I had one wish, like I'd like to see Winnipeg get it next. And like, who the fuck says that when you just won a Stanley Cup? Like, come on, Paul, just bask in it and enjoy it. Just live it up, man. But what a great dude. And I think he's been around for what, Chad? At least 25 years. Like, he was maybe longer. Like, he's been around. He's been coaching for a long time, right?
Yeah. I feel like he's like the Morgan Freeman of NHL coaches. Like, it just feels like he's been the veteran head coach my whole life.
He's just shy of 2,000 career games coached. That's a lot of fucking hockey games.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was awesome to see Paul Maurice get the Stanley Cup. And I found this statistic interesting. Let me just make sure I get this right because I don't want to blow it.
Don't blow it.
He is the second coach in NHL history to win their first 5 Game 7s. The guy has never, Pete DeBoer, 8-0 in Game 7s in the playoffs. Paul Maurice, 5-0 in Game 7s in the playoffs. How about that fucking stat? You'd think one of those might have came with the Jets, who seem to always be fucking losing in the playoffs, but I don't know.
Or maybe they didn't do it in Game 7s.
Maybe, but that's an interesting stat, man. So a big game coach, like 5-0 in Game 7s, like that's clutch. Like when I saw that going in, I was like, okay, that's a little Panthers, Cougars on the Cougs.
I got a text message asking me who I thought was going to win Game 7, not from you, from somebody else. And I said, whoever scores first.
That's usually the way it goes.
Like in the past 30 years, the team that scored first in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final, I don't know how many there's been, has won every game.
Oh, every game?
Every single one in the past 30 years. So I'm like, well, whoever scores first is obviously going to win. Yeah. What I didn't think, like, did you not think the first 2 goals happened so fast? I was like, okay.
First goal was a tip in, by the way.
Yeah, but of course it is.
Former Leaf for Aggie.
I thought it was going to be a 2-1 game, but then the way they were playing in the first, I'm like, Jesus, this could be like a 5-4 Game 7. But then it got tight.
Oh, Florida once they decided to
once they got the Reinhardt goal,
they didn't give him anything, nothing.
That was it.
Didn't love that goal either, though. Like,
no.
That's Edmonton,
we know your pain. We've had that happen.
Feel the pain big time.
Huge. We know the soft goals under the arm. We know.
Anyway, there's really not any other guy. Like, I mean, I love Tkachuk as a player. I love Barkov as a player. I love Ekblad as a player. Like, there's a lot of dudes that I like that play for the Florida Panthers, but I'm not like, I don't really follow the Panthers. I'm not in love with them, but I love the way the team plays. Sure. Did they almost blow it? Yes. But just the absolute team chemistry. And another thing, this has been floated around too, Chad. Other than Barkov and Ekblad, and I think there's one other guy, this team is built from like trades and free agency. This isn't like a homegrown drafted team, not even close. So that's another very rare thing. Like that usually does not happen for Stanley Cup champions.
Even more rare. Hello, Tree Living. This team was a President's Trophy winning team with a different coach, not Paul Maurice, with a different star player in Huberdeau, kind of built more like our team in Toronto that got bounced in the first round after winning the President's Trophy. And instead of being like, let's roll it back, they said no. And they changed the identity of a President's Trophy winning team on the fly with trades and free agency.
Their best player. They traded their best player.
They got rid of a coach who just had like a 115-point season or 120-point season, and they replaced him with Paul Maurice. Like, those were ballsy moves, but it worked. And that's what I love about the Florida Panthers. I love that they were like, we're not going to be this fucking razzle-dazzle team. We're going to be a team, just like you say.
Yeah.
The whole team's going to play, and we're going to have a coach who operates that way, and they fucking did it.
Love it.
You see that tree? See that tree?
Yeah. And we'll see. Like, I mean, I don't think the Leafs personally, as constructed as of right now, have the makeup player personnel-wise to play that way.
And we've been saying that for 5 years, but Florida saw it once. They saw it once, and their owner's like, no.
That's the shitty thing about it, man. But anyway, last thing I'll say on this chat, and then we can bounce out of here if you want. Yeah. I've seen some of the footage online where they just kept partying all night. They were tarps off everywhere in fucking Sunrise, walking down the street.
Not enough people.
No, not enough people. But that's kind of the cool thing about it, is that they kind of can just fly under the radar and enjoy it without being
walking down downtown Miami.
I know.
With the Stanley Cup, and like one car honks and there's like 8 people taking pictures.
I know.
Can you imagine that was the Leafs? Imagine that was the Oilers. Imagine McDavid was walking down Main Street in Edmonton. Oh,
I know. Shit. I think that was at like 7 or 8 in the morning, though. But
it
still,
doesn't matter.
No,
People
no.
would be like jumping out of bed and
No.
driving down.
No, the Oilers and the Leafs fans would have just stayed up all night partying right along with the team, right? So, but some cool shots, Kachuk like jumping in the Atlantic Ocean,
Jumping the beer from
some great shots. And hey, shout out, congratulations to the 2024 Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers,
Shout out to Keith Kachuk. He partied with them, guys in his he's pushing 60s out there partying with them.
Hard. And nice to see Brady Kachuk too, man. Like he talk about brothers who really legitimately give a shit about each other. Like Brady was acting like he just fucking won the thing, right?
Won't touch it though. He won't touch it.
He's never played one playoff game in the NHL, Brady Kachuk.
And he was sincerely happy for his brother.
Big time. Yeah,
so awesome.
Anyway, shout out to the Oilers. Close but no cigar, but I think your time will come. Just gonna have to wait a little longer. But Panthers, hey, congrats.
Yeah, the 2024 season comes to a close. The Florida Panthers, aka Cougars, are your Stanley Cup champions. And until next time, when we're back with Leafs talk, thanks for bearing with us as we talk about other teams. We're going to talk about the Leafs in the next episode. We're going to look at draft coming up. We're going to look at some moves that they might make because we got free agent frenzy around the corner. The Mitch Marner talk heats up. That's all in the next podcast. So until then, follow us on social media at the Tippin' Maple Leafs Podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Tippin' Pod on Twitter. Tippin' Podcast on TikTok. Email us tippinpodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, I'm Chad.
I'm Dale.
And we will.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. Please like this video on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back with a new episode on the weekend, breaking down everything Chad just said, Marner talk, free agency, the whole deal. We'll be back July 1st as well, but we got one more we're going to sneak in before July 1st. But thanks again, everybody, and we'll catch you later. Congratulations, Cougars. We love those Cougars, right, Chatty?
Absolutely.
Catch you guys later.